Gaia Davies from our neighboring UU church in Ormond Beach. Gaia has been a member there for 24 years. She's also spoken at CUUC several times, along with her late husband, Kurtland. After studying the psychology, sociology, and spirituality of death for over 25 years, and caring for dozens of dying people and their families, Gaia was shocked when Kurtland died, and she discovered that all of her education and experience was of no use. Gaia will explain how she coped and survived, reaching a place today of hope, love, and gratitude. Please welcome Gaia Davies.
My friend and I were sitting at the dinner table, a borrowed baby monitor between us. Listen, I don't hear his breath anymore. I ran to the bedroom, but my hand froze on the doorknob. I can't go in. Catherine took my hand. I am with you. Only minutes after we had left Kurtland's side, he took his last breath. We stood by the bed in the deafening silence. At that moment, my life shattered. What do you do when something breaks and shatters into pieces? You usually startle and yell. You freeze where you stand. You stare in disbelief. You may utter a few expletives. Sometimes you cut a finger or a foot. Most of the time, you just go get a broom and sweep up the mess and throw it away. But what if the thing that has shattered is precious to you? What if it were a chalice or a special gift from a loved one? You most likely stand longer in the whirlwind of emotions, shock, pain, confusion, grief, maybe anger. You move slowly as you pick up the pieces with care. You look at them tenderly and think, what does this mean to me? Memories may come. How long have I had this? Who brought it to me? What will I miss about it? What do I do now? You may take a deep breath and wonder, can I be saved? Can I put it back together again? And sometimes, usually not right away, but when you are ready, you start putting the pieces back together again. In the months after Kurtland died, I was numb. I did all those things that needed to be done, as if I were a robot or a child being led by the hand. But every once in a while, I saw a tiny glimpse of my former self. One by one, I began to pick up the pieces of my life. At first, I tried to put the pieces back exactly where they had always been. But I soon learned that this is just not the way it works. Have you heard of the Japanese art, kintsugi? The best translation I have found is golden joinery. The ancient Japanese art of repairing broken pottery using liquid gold. Instead of hiding the damage, This technique highlights the breaks and cracks, honoring the object's history and embodying the ancient philosophy of finding beauty in imperfection and resilience. The vase or cup ends up stronger and more beautiful than before it was broken. It took a long time, but that is how I came to see putting back the pieces of my broken life. And I learned what, for me at least, is the secret material that glues the pieces together. It is love. When Kurtland died, the love poured over me and into me like a waterfall. I have little family left, and they live far away. My friends, my chosen family in my UU, were the ones who loved me back to life. I began to learn how to do life differently. The first step of healing was returning to pieces of my former life, the comfort of Sunday service, someone bringing me to potluck, eating out with friends, reading and writing, going for a walk by the river alone for the first time. It wasn't easy, but it was healing. Most of my needs were being met. Warm conversations, long hugs, the safety of belonging, and keeping the memory of Kurtland alive. But I soon realized that however hard I tried, life was never going to be the same. Life was different, whether I liked it or not. I was changing, whether I wanted to or not. The habits and activities of my old life were just not going to be enough. New questions rose up in me. What do I want? Who can I talk to about my deepest feelings? Which parts of my old life do I want to keep? And which am I ready to let go? And then, what do I want to add to my new life? Explore new places, take an art class, learn an instrument, learn a new language, meet new people? What is it that I want now that I am just Gaia and no longer Kurtland and Gaia, Gaia and Kurtland, which I had been for so long? Such fascinating new thoughts, so exciting and so terrifying. I heeded the well-known advice. Take your time before you make any major changes. I knew right away that there were parts of my life that I would hold on to. I began to glue those pieces back together, always with love. I never considered moving. I love my home. Everything about it brings me joy. I sit on the lanai and watch the birds and squirrels. My mismatched collection of furniture is comfortable. Every piece of art reminds me of the friend who created it or the place where we found it. I clung to my church, which for decades had been the center of our life. I needed to be with my friends, the ones I could trust, the ones I could cry with, and eventually laugh with. I added some new activities to my life. I found some new free adaptive exercises and sports groups, and found that I enjoyed being with people who were determined to keep moving for as long as they could. We laughed at ourselves and our spirits lifted. Probably the biggest change that I had to adapt to was that so many people were taking care of me. This I was not used to. I was the caregiver, the one who took care of everyone else. In a lot of ways, this defined me. So much kindness and generosity. I savored the hugs. Wonderful angels brought delicious food, offered to drive me places, shopped for my groceries, helped clean my house, and even pulled weeds from my flower beds. It took me a while to learn how to accept all those gifts with true gratitude and release the guilt or shame that sometimes bubbled up. I had to remember what I had often told others, that allowing someone the opportunity to serve is a gift that is every bit as important as serving others. Slowly but surely, the gold of love began to glue many pieces into the cracks of my very being. It didn't take me long to return to my normal roles, my usual way of being at my UU, for instance. I was back volunteering for many of the tasks I had always done. Pretty soon, some of my friends began to caution me. You need to slow down. You do too much. You have to take care of yourself first. I understood that they had my best interests at heart. I didn't have the energy I used to, and sometimes I did get overtired. Now and then I was sick, which is my body's way of telling me I need more rest. I appreciated their concern, but something bothered me. You remember Popeye's old motto, I am who I am? Well, in the years since Kurtland died, I have finally truly accepted who I am. My purpose is to make life as good as possible for myself, for those I love, and for the greater community. Oh, go ahead, just call me a humanity-loving, tree-hugging, bleeding heart, liberal, do-gooder caregiver. I see some hands coming up. I sometimes feel that I'm being told that I shouldn't be who I am. That it's not good for me to do too much or to give too much. I don't agree. I am who I am. And what I know now is that this is okay, more than okay. It's just right for me. Yes, I have been broken. Who amongst us has not? I keep putting the pieces together so that I am stronger and more beautiful and more sure of who I am. So I kept on being the old Gaia in a lot of ways, but I also made an intentional effort to bring more into my life. I asked the questions again. What do I want now? What do I want to add to my life, to expand, to learn, to have more sense of purpose, to make more connections, to experience more joy? I was afraid that would be really hard to do, but I found that there are so many resources in the world, both here at home and in the wider universe. A friend told me about a Zoom grief group called Holy Lament. That name says a lot, doesn't it? It's very UU. All belief systems welcome, all lifestyles supported. Hundreds of shattered people all over the world encouraging each other to find the gold, to heal the brokenness. I learned so much. And I'm constantly surprised that there is so much more to learn. Just last week, we listened to a webinar on healing trauma. The statement that struck me the most was that suffering from trauma is done alone. Healing from trauma is done in relationship and community. This is what I have learned since losing Kurtland, how to find and nurture healthy relationships and communities, to discover better ways of relating that bring me peace, joy, and contentment. One of the biggest challenges for me has always been how to ask for what I want. It strikes me as funny that I finally learned this from a silly game that Kurtland and I created. Here's my confession. I'm a loser. I lose everything. My cell phone, my car keys, and especially my eyeglasses, which are particularly hard to find because I can't see without them. One day early in our marriage, I was hunting furiously for them. Out of desperation, I yelled out, "Kurtland, glasses hunt." He came out grinning and immediately, of course, found them right where I had been looking 2 minutes before. Our game over 35 years saved us a lot of time and gave us laughter instead of frustration. But why am I talking about this now? Because the game goes on. One day, months after Kurtland died, I was desperately looking for an important document. I searched and I searched until I collapsed on the couch and began to cry. When I quieted, I heard a still small voice Just ask. So I said out loud, Kurtland, I really need this piece of paper. And I'm too tired to look anymore. And then I waited. I didn't even try to think. A minute later, I had a feeling, not a thought, not a picture, just a feeling about where to look. I went straight to a spot I had searched before and before. And there it was. I learned two things that day. I can ask for what I want, and Kurtland is still with me. Love never dies, it just changes forms. I still have the support of all who have ever loved me, and grace from the universe that I will never fully understand. About a year after Kurtland died, I asked him and the universe for something more significant. I am not my best when I'm alone. Of course, I have friends who love me, but I wanted what I had before, a true companion. I didn't ask in so many words, but my heart knew exactly what I wanted. A person to share my life with, a deep friendship, maybe even a new love. Well, it didn't happen instantly, but it did happen. Much to my surprise and ongoing delight, I met John David Townsend, AKA JD. He had also been widowed, and he too was dealing with a lot of life changes. He was selling the house he had lived in for 25 years. He was considering moving away to be closer to family. There were even changes coming to his workplace. JD and I became friends right away. We discovered we have much in common. We are both counselors and have common friends in the mental health community. We were both born and raised in New Jersey and had deep connections with the ocean and the beach as kids. We have both lived in Florida for decades. We enjoy music, reading, social justice, meaningful conversations, and best of all, laughter. JD has a great sense of the ridiculous, and I think he's the first person in my life who truly finds me hilarious. Because my natural instinct is to help people, I soon found myself at JD's house sorting stuff and cleaning stuff and selling stuff. So much stuff. Dealing with endless real estate and legal paperwork and hunting for a new place for him to live. Working together cemented our friendship. JD started to attend UU with me rather early and meeting my friends. We spent more time together and slowly our relationship deepened. And now we are together as, well, we're still working this out. Boyfriend is ridiculous. Partners, companions, soulmates, all suggestions are welcome. We are not together 24/7. We have our own homes and our own friends and activities. And JD still works full-time as a therapist through his new agency. We are grateful and often amused by finding love at our age. We fit easily in each other's lives. With his long career in helping professions, JD's work revolves around trying to make life easier for those who are suffering. He is kind, thoughtful, generous, and endlessly interested in life. In fact, my friends will tell you that in many ways he is a lot like Kurtland. As some of you may have already discovered, JD is also blind. He takes it in his stride. As one of my friends said, JD moves through life with grace. For me, his blindness brought new challenges. When my feelings began to deepen, I started questioning whether I was really up for this. I had my doubts. Can I do this hard thing? As it turns out, it's not all that hard. JD is at ease with his blindness. He lost his sight very gradually from birth and had half a lifetime to develop his independent ways. He doesn't need an assistant or a caregiver. At first, I wasn't sure what to do to help and what not to do. And JD casually let me know if he needed something or if I was overstepping. The first time we ate together, He asked me if there was a straw in his water glass. I was puzzled until he laughed and explained that since he can't see the straw, it often ends up poking up his nose. When I see something beautiful or funny, I want him to be able to experience them, so I describe them in great detail. Fluffy white clouds in the sky, a particularly beautiful sunset, an Easter bunny driving a motorcycle down Nova, a pelican diving straight down for a fish. Oops, he missed. A few weeks ago, we saw dolphins on the river. There are a few advantages to being with a blind guy. I don't have to put on makeup or wear different outfits every day. If I haven't had time to clean up the clutter in my house, he doesn't know it, unless he trips over it. He doesn't know if I steal a tasty morsel from off of his plate, but I always tell him anyway. Our life together is remarkable, occasionally challenging, and often funnier than you can possibly imagine. One day, John's white cane had fallen down several times, which was unusual. For some reason, that was just when I asked him if he had given his cane a name. He said he hadn't ever thought about it, but at the moment, it would definitely be Falstaff. We grow together. Right now, JD is learning about Hakomi therapy with me. We read interesting articles or watch videos of all kinds. And we laugh a lot when we dive down in the rabbit hole on such deep, deep subjects as the origin of the phrase okie dokie. And for many months now, you could find us standing with hundreds and thousands of our fellow citizens demonstrating for peace, civil rights, and decent government, just as we have for all these decades, determined to make our world a better place for all. His sign says, I am blind, but I can see that we need to save our democracy. My shirt says, not voting is the greatest cause of unwanted presidencies. For so long, I thought I was going to grow old with Kurtland, but that's not what happened. I had to pick up the pieces of my life and glue them back together with gold, with love, all kinds of love. Love from my old friends, love of my new partner, but most of all, love for myself, both the old Gaia and the new Gaia. Just this past week, I read an article with a very long title. Research says that the happiest people after 70 aren't the ones who stayed active, stayed useful, or stayed relevant. They're the ones who made peace with a new version of themselves that didn't need to be any of those things to deserve to be here. That's where I am right now. I can choose what I want to do and what I want to be. I don't have to do it because that's the way I've always done it, or that's what others expect. A few months ago, I was 82 years old, and I still get to rebuild my life the way I want to. Is it all perfect? Of course not. I grieve my losses, not only of Kurtland, but many loved ones who have died or moved away. I resent the challenges of aging sometimes. My world is shrinking. I'm often at war with complicated technology. I mourn when I see forests mowed down and replaced with ugly development. I grieve over war and tragedy and unfairness in the world. But I also live with joy every day, if I choose to. I now understand that I've been recreating myself over and over again my whole life. I don't need to put the pieces back exactly the way they were before. We all have the privilege, the challenge, and the joy of creating and recreating our lives. I heard that when I was newly widowed, and I thought it was pure bull. But for me, it has turned out to be true. That's one of the best things about being old. I am who I am. a gorgeous old chalice, a little bent and cracked here and there, but lovingly, continually formed with the gold of love and still beaming with light.